Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Bhutairmahadbhiryaima puro vibho nirmayashyate yatamusha purusha bhunte gunan shodasha shodashatmaka sulam krisishta bhagavan vachamsi me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satata Pivatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panthanam Sarvaloka Rishideva Janma Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishideva Janma Prasannam. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to our morning Srimad Bhagavatam study session. So today we are doing Canto 2, the Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 1, and text number 8. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Adhitavan Dvaparado Piturdvaipayanadaham. So this is a very famous verse. Let's look at word to word. Idam, this, Bhagavatam, Srīmad Bhagavatam, Nama, of the name, Puranam, Vedic supplement, Brahma Samhitam, approved as the essence of the Vedas. Adhitavan, studied, Dvapara Ado, at the end of the Dwarpa Yuga. Pituhu, from my father. Dvaipayana, Vyasadeva, Aham, myself. Translation by His Loving Divine Grace, I.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srīmad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas from my father, Srila Dvaipayanam Vyasadeva. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Would anyone like to read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, may I read the purport?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Purport. The statement made by Sri Sukadev Goswami that the topmost transcendentalist, who is beyond the jurisdiction of regulation and restrictions, mainly takes to the task of hearing about the glorifying the personality of Godhead, is verified by his personal example. Sukadev Goswami, being a recognized liberated soul and the topmost transcendentalist, was accepted by all of the topmost sages present in the meeting during the last 7 days of Maharaj Pariksit. He cites from the example of his life that he himself was attracted by the transcendental activities of the Lord, and he studied Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father, Sri Vyabhyana Vishyadev. Srimad Bhagavatam, or for that matter, any other scientific literature, cannot be studied at home by one's own intellectual capacity. Medical books or of anatomy or physiology are available in the market, but no one can become a qualified medical practitioner simply by reading such books at home. One has to be admitted to the medical college and study the books under the guidance of learned professors. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of the science of Godhead. can only be learned by studying it at the feet of a realized soul like Srila Vyasadeva. Although Sukadev Goswami was a liberated soul from the very day of his birth, he still had to take lessons of Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father. Vyasadeva, who compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam under the instruction of another great soul, Sri Narad Muni, sorry for that, Sri Narad Muni, Lord Sri Chaitanya Maharaj Prabhu, instructed a learned Brahmana to study Srimad Bhagavatam from a personal Bhagavata Srimad Bhagavatam is based on the transcendental name, form at the tribute, pastime, entourage, and variegatedness of the Supreme Person. And it is spoken by the incarnation of the personality of Godhead, Srila Vyasadeva. Pastime of the Lord are executed in cooperation with his pure devotees, and consequently, historical incidences are mentioned in this great literature because they are related to Krishna. It is called Brahma Samitam because it is the sound representative of the Lord Krishna. Like the Bhagavad Gita is the sound incarnation of the Lord because it is spoken by the Supreme Lord. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the sound representative of the Lord because it was spoken by the incarnation of the Lord about the activities of the Lord. As stated in the beginning of this book, it is the essence of the Vedic desire, tree, and the natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras, the topmost philosophical thesis on the subject matter of Brahman. Vyasadeva appeared at the end of Vapara Yuga as the son of Satyavati, and therefore the word Divapara Adau, or the beginning of Divapara Yuga, in this context means just prior to the beginning of the Kali Yuga. The logic of this statement, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, is a comparable to that of calling the upper portion of the tree the beginning. The root of the tree is the beginning of the tree, but in common knowledge, the upper portion of the tree is first seen, in the way that in of the tree is accepted as its beginning. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. This is a very important verse, and it's worth meditating on each and every word of this verse. So when we look at the translation itself, it's got so much in it. So Srila Shukadeva Goswami, after giving the prelude to the answers of the questions of Parikshit Maharaj, he is speaking and he's giving the subject matter of what he's going to speak on, and he is giving the line of authority as the basis for what he's going to speak, so that it is bona fide and authentic. So here we see, he says this, Bhāgavatam, Srimad Bhāgavatam, Nama of the name, Puranam, the Vedic supplement, Brahma Sammitam, approved as the essence of the Vedas. So we can understand that Vedas is kind of like a very compressed book. It contains of very compressed principles and sutras that need explanation. And Brahma Sammitam, approved as the essence of all Vedas. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is described as essence of all Vedas. So when we look at the translation, there we see Srila Prabhupada translating. He says, I studied, and the Sanskrit word there used is adhitavan. Prabhupada translates that as studied. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is a study. Let's not make any mistake about it. Parikshit Maharaj even says it, that it is understood by faith, by constantly and consistently hearing under the guidance of an authority, and it is requires svacheshtitam, means self-endeavor. So these three things are very important. Nityam, consistent study, and we are therefore doing everyday study of Srimad Bhagavatam. It requires faith, and it requires our own endeavor as well. Once my Guru Maharaj said that the difference between a devotee and a good devotee is 5 minutes. And then he said that 5 minute means we just hear a class, but then majority of the devotees would just close their books, say Hari Bol, and go to have prasadam. But a good devotee would immediately or sometime later that day would again open the book and study all the pertinent points they've heard in the class. They would read the purport again and make their own notes and study in that way. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, Adhitavan, it has to be studied if we want to get anything worthwhile out of it. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport speaks very emphatically about this point, that Srila Shukadeva Goswami learned it from his father. So Srila Shukadeva Goswami, as we understand, that as soon as he was born, he was fearful that he would become entangled in a family situation. Therefore, he just walked off. And in praise of Sud Goswami, in glorification of Shukadeva Goswami, there it is mentioned, Yam pravajantam anupetam apeta krityam dvaipayano virahakatara ajuhava. That Vyasadeva, his father, called out for his son out of great affection, "O son, O son, O son, come back." However, in the forest, the echo came in reply, but Shukadeva Goswami did not reply. Tam sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi. So there it is mentioned that Shukadeva Goswami is such a transcendentalist because he's in constant touch with Brahma, the supreme absolute truth, that he can enter into the hearts of all living entities. Tam sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi. Because he's connected with the super soul in his heart, and the super soul in heart of everyone is the same. But nonetheless, there was an incompleteness in his study or approach. And Vyasadeva was very, very despondent on this fact that as a father, he hadn't given his son the highest principle of Vedic life. And the highest principle of Vedic life is Srimad Bhagavatam. And we should not make any mistake about this point. And then in the next verse, Sud Goswami offers the praise, and he says that Yahaswanubhavam akila shruti saramekam adhyatma deepam atititir shatam tamoannam. That later on, Shukadeva Goswami, he self-assimilated this scripture which he learned from his father. And he became the torch barrier of decimating this knowledge to everyone through Maharaj Parikshit, which is just about to happen. Samsarina karunayaha purana guhyam. And out of compassion for all the materialist men of this world, he spoke this great mysterious literature, Purana Guhyam. Tam Vyasa Sunam Priyami Gurum Muninam. And that Srila Shukadeva Goswami was regarded as the guru of all the gurus in that assembly. But nonetheless, Sri Shukadeva Goswami learned it from his spiritual master, his father. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that Srila Vyasadeva also learned it from his spiritual master, Narad Muni. Narad Muni was able to guide him. The example Prabhupada gives is a very apt example that no one can learn the science of Srimad Bhagavatam devotional service. And the analogy he gives, by themselves, they cannot learn it just by reading the book. And the analogy he gives is that of a medical student. Simply by reading a textbook, one cannot become a medical practitioner. If they have to do a procedure, then they have to be under the guidance of an experienced professor who has themselves learned this procedure and have been doing it for ages under the guidance of their superior. Because, cutting of the body and then making sure that you are not cutting any veins off, and then when you are stitching back, making sure that the depth of the stitch is right. All these cannot be learned through the textbooks. Similarly, the principles of devotional service cannot be simply learned just by reading it. No, there is a need of the spiritual master who guides his disciples, holding their hands. And we were fortunate, very fortunate in that sense that, our spiritual master spent a lot of time with us, guiding us on how to study Srimad Bhagavatam, how to read Srimad Bhagavatam, and also, most importantly, how to live through the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a very, very important point. Another point here to understand is, in the translation, it is very clear, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas. So one question generally is asked, if Srimad Bhagavatam is equal to all the Vedas, then why don't we read all the Vedas? And then, Srimad Bhagavatam is done. But the explanation is given by the author himself, Dvaipayana Vyasa, that, imagine there is a mango tree, and each part of the mango tree has the same ingredients and nutrients. For example, the twigs, the leaves, the trunk have the same constitute as the mango. So Vedas are compared to trees. Nigama means the Vedas. And kalpa means that it is desire fulfilling tree. And the highest form of desire of the living entity is to experience the bliss and pleasure. And that bliss and pleasure is experienced when we are connected with the Supreme Lord Krishna. The deepest, innermost desire of the heart of a living entity is to be loved. And no one can love us as much as Krishna can, because we are simply his parts and parcel. So that deepest desire can only be fulfilled by Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is known as Prema Pumartho Mahan, the fifth artha, which is delivered. But in one way, it is the first artha, because when love is there, then everything else becomes insignificant. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Nigam Kalpataror Galitam Phalam, is the ripened fruit of the desire tree of the Vedic literature. If we take the Vedas and try to understand it, it's like chewing the individual leaf of a mango tree. It won't be relishable, it won't be digestible, and it is not palatable at all. But if you take a ripened mango and eat the ripened mango, then not only the mango is digestible and full of nourishing ability, but it is very, very relishable and tasteful also. So the Srimad Bhagavatam similarly is relishable, palatable, and tasteful. Therefore, Vyasadeva says that Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, you please drink this nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is the essence of all Vedic literatures, and essence is understood, is digestible, and is palatable. And this Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained, has to be understood through its meanings. Very nicely in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rupa Goswami explains that Srimad Bhagavatam Arthanam, the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, asvado, one has to taste. How? Sajati ashayes nikdhe. Swajati, Prabhupada very nicely translates as people who are like-minded and of similar nature. Ashaye, endowed with a desire, snigdhe, advanced in devotional affection. And in this way, sadhu, sangaha, swatah vare, associate with someone who is better than us in experiencing and relishing this taste of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, it is no understatement, we have said many times, as Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, that if all the books in this world are burnt and only Srimad Bhagavatam kept, there is no loss. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was the greatest propagator of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we see one of the ways when he speaks with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the famous Atmaram ways, Atmaramas Chumanayo Nira Grante Pi Urkrame, that he explains that verse and each word of that verse in many, many different ways, 64 different meanings, but all leading to the same conclusion that unadulterated, unmotivated, ahetuki kurvanti, devotional service has to be performed onto Lord Shri Krishna. And then when Sanatana Goswami later on asks Mahaprabhu that, oh, I've heard that you gave 64 different explanations of this verse. Can you please repeat that again? And so Mahaprabhu is repeating those explanations again. But then Mahaprabhu says, oh, but hang on, there is another explanation as well. So Srimad Bhagavatam is unlimited. We were discussing the other day, Anadi Nidhano Harihi. Anadi Nidhana means Supreme Lord Harihi, who has no beginning and no end. And because Srimad Bhagavatam is Lord Krishna himself, it doesn't have any beginning, it doesn't have any end. Therefore, this is not like a manual book or instructions manual or some university textbook that we just read only once and then we are done with it. No, it is the greatest source of nourishment for the soul, and it has to be had all time, every time. And so when we distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, now Bhadra Purnima is coming. So we should not be doing only a count of statistics that, okay, we distributed 30 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. A proper statistics would be that, yes, we distributed 30 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, but how many devotees did we channel towards a Srimad Bhagavatam study group? And how many devotees that we channeled, how many of them are continuing their studying of Srimad Bhagavatam under a guidance of another senior devotee? Actually, there is a true measurement of whether success has been there or not. Therefore, our job is not only to distribute, but also each one of us has to become a teacher. And to become a teacher, we have to become a student. And to become a student, we have to study under the guidance of the spiritual master and other Siksha gurus. And that only will be effective. And that is shown by the personal example of Shukadeva Goswami here. As he says, Adhatman, I studied under the guidance of my father, Idam Bhāgavatam Nama Purana, this Srīmad Bhāgavatam named Purana. Does anyone have any questions, Prabhus, Matajis?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. When you say studying under the guidance of a senior devotee, is this considered studying under the guidance of a senior devotee when the devotees that are delivering the class, they're considered senior? Are we doing that in this class, please?
Well, definitely. It would be considered that, because all the devotees speaking here, they have been listening, been practicing under the guidance of their own spiritual master, and reading and studying diligently, and most importantly, they are genuinely trying to not only talk but walk the message of Srimad Bhagavatam to the best of their ability. So it would definitely be considered like that. Otherwise, we are doing this for 2.5 years. If some genuineness was not there, we will not be able to continue. Things will fall apart automatically. As we see in the material world, anything we do, it doesn't last. Things fall apart. But study of Srimad Bhagavatam is being carried on because there is definitely, great meaning that it gives to the sense of purpose of what we are doing each day, every day. And you all, are yourself proof of that. I receive sometimes messages from you, Paul Prabhu, regarding question, and then and you express your gratitude as well, that this increased my understanding and I can do things better in this way. Is that okay, Paul Prabhu?
That's a great explanation. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other questions or comments? So a special announcement, Janmashtami is coming up. A lot of services are there. And so please, be in touch with the Janmashtami team, Rasamandal Prabhu, Jamad Agni Prabhu, Sakiraya Prabhu is organizing Harinam today. It's Eka there for the Brisbane City Council region. So let's be engaged in all these services. And Saturday morning Bhagavatam class and Sunday morning Bhagavatam class will be held at the temple. So Saturday, of course, is Janmashtami. So we'll have a full program starting with Mangalarti and leading to Darshanarti and morning Bhagavatam class. So we hope to see all the devotees join for the festive season. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just a question. Do you have any services this afternoon at the temple? Are you decorating or doing any? Because I'm this afternoon for the...
Can I just say something?
Haribo.
Haribo, yes, there is some decoration happening from 10 a.m. at the temple.
Okay, so what about in the afternoon? Because I won't be able to attend at 10 a.m. But after lunch, I will be able to come and help you. So is there anything happening after lunch?
Mataji, I'll message you once I'm there. And I know
Oh,
that.
beautiful. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you there then. Haribol.
Haribol.
Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.